Getting into the other incredible news that's up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Gutierrez says to La Raza, Obama promised to stop deportation of our people. We're going to be playing that clip. Governor Rick Perry says he's going to send the National Guard to the border and then I guess have them hand them over to ICE, who will then put them on buses and bus them into the country. See, that's the issue, is that ICE is over the deportation, and they have stopped basically all deportations. 99% of them have been stopped. Now, continuing here, ladies and gentlemen, with what's unfolding with the border situation, Senate immigration bill would provide enough green cards to admit every single person in Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. Hundreds of millions of people. This is the complete end of the country, and I know I just keep saying that, but it's too amazing. It is just too amazing that they're actually doing it. And what we have is an incredibly blackmailed government. We saw more NSA whistleblowers go public yesterday and document the fact that NSA intercepts illegally of all digital communications have been used for decades to blackmail. You have to understand, these systems are international. That's why Google and Microsoft and AT&T and Verizon and these companies are more of the NSA than the NSA itself, because they straddle national lines. And they basically sell the data to the highest bidder, or access to mining that data. And here's a headline today. Book, Israelis tried to blackmail Bill Clinton with Lewinsky tape. You see, that's why our country is in so much trouble, because we are just so incredibly corrupt. And now the special interests are so reckless, they're willing to bring in 30 million illegals, give them ID cards so they can vote, and then try to bring another 30, 40, 50 million. They want to issue over 100 million green cards in the new Senate bill. The bills that Bush brought forward and Obama had brought forward have been basically the same bill in the last 10 years. They've done it 5 different times. 3 times under Bush, now twice under Obama. And it lets everybody who's here then bring family members in. So by fiat, outside of law, because they can't pass that law, that bill, if you've got family in the U.S., you just tell the Border Patrol, I've got family in, say, St. Louis, Missouri, when you come into McAllen, Texas, or Brownsville. And they say, okay, here's your unlimited voucher to go wherever you want in the U.S., just an open check on Greyhound. And they hand you the voucher, and they'll take any ID you've got, any consular matricula, you name it. I remember having the leader of the Republican Senate on like 8, 9 years ago from Colorado. He'd done a stunt, the Denver Post reported on it, where he went out in one day and got 4 consular matriculas himself under different names at the Mexican consulate or Mexican embassy. You can go down to Houston, you go to Dallas, there's big giant buildings with big Mexican flags flying on the top of them, and just huge parking lots full of people just going in, getting any name they want. And by the way, Mexico runs like this. Mexico has collapsed. They say Cancun's not even safe to go to anymore. Travel advisories, the entire place. I was in Mexico 4 years ago, the last time, and let me tell you, it was scary. I was in Cozumel, where I'd probably been 20 times before. And it was scary. And then we got off in southern Mexico to go see some pyramids, and it was scary. And it hadn't been scary like that even 10 years ago. I remember the bus being pulled over, the tour bus, and Mexican troops demanding money from the bus driver, who then cried and gave them his day's tips from 3 different trips out to the pyramids. That's Mexico. And we're now going to live like that. Why are all these people fleeing the third world? Because it's the third world. And by every measurement, every sociological measurement, look it up, the United States is now a third world country in most areas. Look it up. The United States trails last in income, last in education, last in test scores. We are a third world country. California is going to be the next Mexico City. Mexico City was the staging ground from Central and South America and southern Mexico. It was only 10 million people in 1980. Mexico City is now estimated at 35 million people. And now they've moved them to the maquiladoras, and now they're being moved into the U.S., and then they will pivot and bring in their families. 30 million is 60 million. They bring in their families. 90 million. They bring in their families. 180 million people within 10 years. And that's in the Senate bill. 180 million people in the next 10 years. Or the new birth rate of Latin America over the next decade transferred to us. Game over. The New World Order means to conquer us. They use ISIS to bring down the Middle East and Al-Qaeda. They use former Nazis to bring down the Ukraine, overthrow it. And we're being conquered right now. And if Rick Perry just sends some people down to the border and engages in some grandstanding, that is not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough to have some National Guard stand around the border and then apprehend some illegals and then give them to ICE, who then puts them on buses. And I don't even have the money or the reporters to send reporters to all of this in Arizona and Texas. But we're going to send our reporters back out to cover the supposed National Guard and to go back to the place where the buses come in to videotape that and show it's still going on. And our ICE whistleblower tells us it's still going on every day in multiple cities in Texas alone. And it's going on in California, and it's going on in Arizona. And if Sheriff Arpaio tries to stop him, the feds sue him and SWAT team raid him and search through all their goods. This is what our country has turned into, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the headline, CBS News. Governor Rick Perry deploying up to 1,000 National Guard troops to border. We'll be covering more of that coming up. Budget to transport illegals across the USA approaches $100 million. And that's just been this summer. They already want another $3.7 billion because they're going to run out early of the 2015 budget that's $5.508 billion. And that's from the Senate Appropriations Committee with that information. Again, Luis Gutierrez, I'm going to play this clip in a minute, to La Raza. Obama assured steps to take the deportation of our people to stop it. Of our people. You mean anybody who's got brown skin from south of the border is now the people under the Democratic Party who then get free goodies if they vote for gun control and socialism and Obamacare to rob everybody? This is a political takeover, ladies and gentlemen. And, of course, this is the new political ruling class And it's not based on private property or the family or the right to self-defense. It is based on leftist ideology that flies completely in the face of what I would call Hispanic culture. That's pro-family, pro-private property, pro-male role models, female role models, traditional stuff. It's all run by these weird little socialist, globalist foundation creatures that Professor Hamamoto, who heads up his UC Davis sociology department, he's pointing out. I mean, he's from the Rockefeller Foundation. He's an insider. He's gotten awards from the system that this is a political takeover. Because we're a democracy now, not a republic. If 51% vote to make the 49% slaves, according to the Democrats, that happens. Now, in a republic, you can get 51% of people to vote to ban guns. It doesn't happen because you can't get rid of free speech or the right to defense or the right to private property or the right to a jury or a right to not be incriminated or a right to not have your house searched without warrants. All those things are going by the wayside right now. And by the way, they don't have that in Latin America. They don't have any of that except maybe in Chile. IRS seeks help destroying another 3,200 hard drives. So they're still destroying everything, engaging in the takeover. Here's another one on the border situation. Again, I mentioned this, but I want to read from it now. Governor Rick Perry deploying up to 1,000 National Guard troops to the border. Governor Rick Perry announced last night that he is activating up to 1,000 National Guard troops to the U.S.-Mexico border as he accused the federal government of offering lip service on border security. Go all the way, Perry. They're shipping them in the buses into the country, part of a takeover. They've ended deportations effectively, except for super hardcore felons, and most of those have stopped. The announcement comes as the Obama administration is still struggling to deal with an influx of more than 50,000 unaccompanied minors. It's about 100,000 a month we know of, folks. That's just the minors they count. It's adults, women, children, you name it. See, because the minors then shut down the system. Most from Central America who have crossed the United States in the past year. The additional resources are not aimed at the children themselves, Perry said, describing them instead as force multiplier to help the Texas Department of Public Safety combat the brutal drug cartels that are preying upon our communities. Well, I know the Guard's been down there before, and I know they don't shoot back when the cartels shoot at them. And I know the state police haven't been shooting back. They've been getting their boats shot up. This country just, no other country bends over like this. I mean, that's all I can say. Because it's part of the plan. You want to grease the skids to implode the country. Now, let's play this clip where Representative Luis Gutierrez, a Democrat of Illinois, said President Barack Obama's Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program was a down payment to the Hispanic community before more grants of amnesty for illegal immigrants. It is de facto legalization. They won't have immigration hearings for 5 years. They get given driver's license in Colorado and California and other places. It's game over in Illinois. And notice it's our people. They're branding it. This is how psychology works, that if you are Hispanic, you support wide open borders and the Democratic Party and turning your guns in. So this new political class of El Jefes can turn us into a mixture of Guatemala, Mexico, and Venezuela. I mean, have you been to Venezuela, folks? I've been to Guatemala and Honduras, and let me tell you, they're scary. Let's go ahead and go to Gutierrez. Here's the clip.
You see that there is no progress on the issue. It's time for the President of the United States to step forward.
He has the power to stop deportations, and we will fight. I don't want to go. I would like to stay here. This is Chicago. I'm part of Chicago, and that's why I'm here. Thank you.
You see, this is the genius of it. They've got these people fleeing desperate nations who just like living here, and I get it compared to where they came from, but they're politically handled by monsters, by the big Chicago crime syndicate. by the New York crime syndicate, by the LA crime syndicate. They're being used, and the country will be collapsed. So he's in a lifeboat going, I'd like to stay, to put a human face on it. But you need to free Latin America. You need to put in economic development there. But the IMF and World Bank goes, oh, we understand that, Mr. Jones. We want to do that. But now they want to put money into, again, to centralized systems that only make things worse. The globalists want us poor and bankrupted. They've done this on purpose in Africa and Latin America and Asia. I've interviewed the top technicians involved in it. I've interviewed the former chief economist of the World Bank, Joseph Stiglitz. I've interviewed John Perkins, who was an economic hitman over whole countries. He would go in and meet with the presidents and say, you either take this $1 billion in your Swiss bank account or we're going to kill you. Is that clear? And if they didn't sign over all the infrastructure and then double and triple prices and break the country down with a list of demands that would make the country go bankrupt, so the globals would have a permanent poor client state, they would kill the president or prime minister or have the U.S. Army or Marine Corps invade or fund rebels. You understand that? And people go, yeah, see, America's evil. And then Americans get blamed for it. No, no, no. We're under the same thing. They're going to do this here now. Mark my words.
Hi, I'm Dr. Edward Group. Today I'd like to talk about the war on women. You've experienced and heard about the benefits of super male vitality. Now, the new formula has arrived. Introducing the new Super Female Vitality. I have specifically designed this formula to help the body naturally regulate itself without the use of artificial hormones. Key ingredients chosen from the highest quality sources. Each of these ingredients works synergistically with the female body in order to maximize overall vitality. You've heard the reviews and the feedback on how the original Super Male Vitality has revitalized relationships. Now, both the man and the woman can have the revitalization in their own bodies with Super Male Vitality and Super Female Vitality. Secure your Super Female Vitality today from our limited stock at InfoWarsLife.com.
Nicaragua, El Salvador have the highest overall murder rates in the world. Right behind them, Mexico. Mexico has the highest total number, but per capita, Guatemala and El Salvador to the south have the highest. Kidnappings are now exploding all across the United States. I have a cousin who, again, has been in the military for 31 years, the Army. And the last few years, he's been in operations on the border and in Mexico, in covert operations. I'll just leave it at that. And he just got in the mail a few months ago a photo taken of him on the street from the Mexican drug cartel saying, you're dead. And now the state police are getting those in the mail as well. And once the killing starts, it'll just happen. Our country is collapsing into a third world pit. And I have family getting photos in the mail saying we're going to kill you. See, this is how I'm being affected. I've had 2 family members die from superbugs this year. The hospitals were all full, literally full, mass death. Every medical doctor told me there's a huge plague. It's being covered up. Never in the news. Mexican drug cartel sends a photograph to the home address of my family. I knew about this months ago, and I just got reminded of it. I mean, this is how I'm being affected. These are real things, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, there it is. Honduras is number 1, Venezuela, Belize, El Salvador, Guatemala, Jamaica. Then it goes into some African countries. Honduras has the highest crime rate. You know, I don't know if I agree with those numbers, though. What is that, a World Fact Book? Because if you look at Mexico, I know it has the highest number of total dead. It's like 130,000 dead. Yeah, that's out of what the Huffington Post. Anyway, side issue. The point is, Latin America is collapsing. And then we've got politicians going, our people need to be here. And then they literally take the dregs, the criminals, the homeless, the people that are crippled. so the nation will bankrupt. And then you always see these press conferences that the illegals are having with the people they voted for to get elected. And they're always looking so angry, like they've been put down and treated bad. And how dare America not give them more? I mean, it's a joke, people. It's a joke. Former Border Patrol head came out this week and said 1 in 5 illegals has a criminal record. I mean, I'm telling you, Americans that haven't been to Latin America, you have no idea how dangerous this is. No idea. And it shows the establishment decided to sink this country. Coming up, Kiev censors MH17 air traffic control recordings. That's up on Infowars.com. Mystery white flags replace American flags atop Brooklyn Bridge. A great way to say America's in crisis and has run up the white flag. A demonstration about the open borders, probably. The police want to arrest whoever did it. I salute whoever did it, because this country's running up the white flag, endorsing al-Qaeda, opening the borders, all of it. That's all coming up. So much other news I haven't even gotten to yet. Briefly, we are running a special right now on the fluoride shield that has the nascent iodine and 5 other ingredients that chelate and detoxify the body with the survival shield. 25% off both when you get them together at InfoWarsLife.com. And we now have more of the silver bullet that's been gone for over 2 months. We just got a limited supply of the most powerful colloidal silver out there, bar none. And I've used a lot of colloidal silver, and it's great, but this stuff is just super powerful, and it's a very low price compared to all the competitors. It's about half the price. InfoWarsLife.com.
You are watching the best of the Alex Jones Show, weekdays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central. Watch live at Infowars.com/show or become a member of InfoWarsNews.com and help us take resistance to the next level.